Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martorano and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Hi everybody, welcome again to the Behavioral Corner, the podcast about everything is what I say. I'm Steve Martorano, your host and guide. The whole shooting match made possible by our great underwriting partners, Retreat Behavioral Health. You'll hear more about them specifically, a world-class mental health and substance abuse facility that have been our partners for many years now. They not only provide us financial support and utter editorial control, bless their hearts, but they also are a great reservoir of people and experts in the field of both substance abuse treatment and mental health as well. And case in point is another of their employees, one of their primary addiction therapists, and not a newcomer to the program. She's been with us before. Wanda Barnett is with us. Wanda, thanks so much for your time. It's good to see you again.
Hi.
I've asked you the question I've asked a couple of others before, and I know this is incredibly vain, but why does everybody seem to be rosier and more tan than I am on camera? It drives me insane.
Mine is heritage.
Can I ask you a rude question?
Sure.
Okay. Your maiden name is Fink, and you use the hyphenated Fink Barnett as your name now.
Yeah, that is because I was looking for some of my biological father's family.
Uh-huh.
And so I put Thick in there so that I could find them. And as soon as I did, I was amazed that I found them. They just started coming.
That's great. I hadn't considered that you would use that to find your roots, but it's interesting. Anyway, Wanda, as I said, I was with us many years ago, and she, as I said, is a primary addiction therapist at Retreat. We're going to talk about what that means. She's now been at it over a decade, and we're going to find out how she winds up there. She did not begin as a therapist, but she began as a substance abuse sufferer. So, Wanda, take us through that. How did your problems begin?
It started with my first problem was an eating disorder. At the age of 12, I started. I discovered, anorexia, bulimia. I was a chubby child,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. And I wanted to be able to fit in with everybody else. And one of my friends had showed me this neat trick where you could lose weight. And then by the time I was 13, I discovered these nifty little pills. They were called Black Beauties and Christmas trees and all these other wonderful things. And they helped lose weight even more. And I was getting away with it fairly well because my parents were separated. They were divorced at the time, and my mom was busy working the night shift. So I was in school during the day. She was at work at night. By the time she got home, I was in bed. So it worked out fairly well,
Right.
until she walked into the bathroom one day and I was coming out of the shower and she just about lost her mind. I didn't know what she was losing her mind about. Took me to a hospital. I weighed 82 pounds.
She was reacting to your body.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had spent, from the time I was 13 till I was 15, 12 times in eating disorder clinics. So that started it.
Uh-huh.
Just in and out. And that, by the time I was 14 and a half, I already knew what to say to get out, like what they wanted to hear. I know what to do. And I would get out, and within a matter of 2 weeks, I was right back to doing what I was doing before. And then when I was 15, I got pregnant with my first child. So I automatically stopped doing everything, and I was good. So everybody thought everything was golden by this point. And I had him, and within 4 months after he was born, started again.
You were
Uh,
15. You were 15 when you had the child. Okay.
mhm. Yeah, and then I had another one a year later. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant with her, I had stopped doing everything again. So in my mind, there was no addiction issue because I could put things down, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so it was just this ongoing thing where if you would have said to me, which people had said to me, you have a problem. Because after that, then I had discovered, because I after my first three children were born, I had like I was modeling, I was doing a lot of things, and modeling was my big ticket. I was making good money,
Hmm.
and but in the modeling world, you learn all about meth and speed and all that other stuff. Um,
It's exactly the sort of thing someone with your problem shouldn't have been involved in. A
Absolutely,
a hyper consciousness about appearance and certainly weight.
absolutely. But it took off for me, and and then I had a very bad experience of sexual assault in there,
Hmm.
and it I was hospitalized, and it felt awful. Like I felt broken from head to toe.
Hmm.
And so then they prescribed pain pills because there was a lot of trauma.
Hmm.
So what do you do with that?
Right.
You discover all kinds of other things. Cocaine came into the mixture, crack cocaine came into the mixture, heroin came in. It all came into the mixture.
Right.
And so no matter how many times people said you have a problem, no, I don't. I had stolen, like I had at one point I got married. My husband, the poor man, didn't know a thing because like for most heroin addicts, they fall asleep. Not me. I was scrubbing walls, doing this, doing that. You know, crack cocaine I think was the counterbalance in there for that. Um, so he didn't have a clue until like money started disappearing in massive amounts. You know, but he didn't say anything because I think he knew that like no matter what he said, it wasn't going to do anything.
Now, how old were you during this period of time?
At that point, I was like 24.
So so this is for you, considering the eating disorder, which begins at 12 or
Oh
10 or
yeah,
12 to
yeah,
20. That's 10 years of really on the road to substance abuse
destruction.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, okay. So how did you get to your first substance abuse treatment?
I went one time for substance abuse. I was in and out for eating disorder, but I went to treatment one time for substance abuse.
And did it work, as they say? Was it the turning point for you?
It was, and that was because I had overdosed and I was on life support.
Hmm.
And that was in 1993, the end of 1993. And when I came to, all my kids, at this point I had four children, and they were all on the other side of the ICU window.
Hmm.
And there was a priest there giving last rites.
Hmm.
And I had said, oh my gosh, I'll never do that again. Never do it again. What do you think I did when I got out of that hospital?
Hmm. Got high.
Absolutely. And I called my mother and I was like, you got to come and get me. I said, because this time I'm going to die for real. And then I hung up the phone. Like I didn't even tell her where I was. How she found me to this day, like
Oh,
all
great.
the way to the day she died, I used to say to her, "How did you ever find me?" And she was just none of your business, none of your business.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. It's an amazing insight. Here's someone, on death's door, and you are aware of that, and you
Yeah,
reach out in desperation because you know you're going to die, and your mom responds, and then perfectly in keeping with the confusion associated with substance abuse, you hang up without telling her where you are.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
just that's just amazing. And she found her. Good. You know
She
what?
she she did find me, and
Amazing.
she made all the arrangements. She took me to treatment. My mother was was in and out of alcoholism until like I don't even know how long. And she had stopped drinking years before that. And she had struggled with cocaine use for years as well. So I think she knew exactly what I was feeling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my father was an alcoholic, the same as, many of his family
Right.
was.
Right.
So like it was just oozing everywhere in my family.
Yeah, you just got dealt a rough hand in terms of your background and your, I guess, genetic. We know there's a component there about
Yeah,
genetics, so it
yeah.
shouldn't be very surprising. You say so you're 12 times in and out of eating disorder facilities, but only once in substance abuse. What type of treatment did you receive during that period?
I was 66 days inpatient.
Hmm.
And then what I thought I was going home didn't happen that way. My family said, you can't come home.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's my house too.
Right.
Until my son, who at the time was 15, said, I don't want you to come home.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when your kid looks at you and says, I don't want you to come home, that makes a huge difference,
Hmm.
you know. And so I was like, I'm not going home. Where am I going? And so they were like looking at all these other places. And I said to my mom, I said, you can send me to Alaska. I'll find an Eskimo to sell me dope if I want to,
Hmm.
you know. Um, so they found this godforsaken Amish farm in the middle of a town called Gap, you know,
Called what?
in Gap, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so that's where I went. I went there for the next 10 months.
That was like a transitional living
Yeah, they
facility.
took
Say,
5 women a year,
yeah,
five
yeah,
women a year.
yeah.
And that's where I went. And I didn't know that's where I was going, mind you. Okay, I thought I was just going to a farm that took 5 women a year. I didn't know it was an Amish farm
Hmm.
till I got there. And I should have known something was up when my mom dropped me and left, right?
Right, right.
you
And then
know,
people start showing up in buggies, right?
well, the first, she came out, the woman came out, and her name was Esther, and she had on this, and I went, oh, you know, and I thought to myself, oh, I got to call somebody to leave. Well, they don't have phones.
Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect.
Right, absolutely. You know, so but the best part about all of that was is that 6 months in, I was told, by my family that I could come home, and somewhere out of my mouth came, I'm not ready to do that just yet.
Really, huh? Hmm.
And as soon as I said it, I thought, why did I just say that? I could go home. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah. Six months in there, and you said what? You said 66 days in
Oh, inpatient.
inpatient. So that's a long haul, and you're
Yeah,
still not ready to come home. What
yeah,
at what point did you go, okay? I mean, I guess some of it's fear. Go
yeah.
home and I can mess up again. Let me stay here. I'm safe. At what point did you and how did you summon the courage to say I'm ready to go home?
It was like I was there for almost 10 months, so I was gone almost a year,
Hmm.
and I felt like it's either now, like I
Hmm.
can't stay here forever in a
Right.
bubble,
During
you
that
know.
period of time, Wanda, during that period of time, uh, were you able to see your children or and
hmm
they would visit?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Okay.
and and I did have weekend visits. I think my biggest fear was is because of where I lived. I lived in the city of Reading, PA, and where I lived was not a good area,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So that was my biggest fear, I believe. Um, so I just kind of like I'd go for the weekend visit. I'd realize like in the beginning it was real fearful for me because there were drugs everywhere. And then my husband, God love him, he was like, "Don't worry, I'm working on getting us out of here." And he really did. He had gotten us out. I was only when I got home, we were only there for about 3 months before he had moved us completely out of the city. You know.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so but no matter where you are, you're going to find it.
Yep.
Like I said early in the stage, like I could have gone to Alaska and done it if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So no matter where you're at, it's there.
Hmm.
I think it's what we do, and I was really strong in NA. Like that I think was my saving grace, is because I was there every single day.
After you left the Amish safe
Even
house.
there, even there, I was going every day.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah,
people who don't know, NA is the substance
yeah,
abuse modeled on the 12-step program.
yeah. Narcotics
Yeah.
Anonymous.
Yeah. You have no doubt in your mind that the 12 steps were the difference for you. Was that
Yes,
it?
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
We've done several programs on the 12 steps. From an outsider perspective, there's a lot of misunderstandings about all of that. But it is a miracle. I always tell people when they ask if AA and that stuff really works, and my answer is simple: yeah, it works for people that it works
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Do you still refer back to the 12 steps even to
yes,
today? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Were you a religious person at this point in time?
No, not when I started. No.
Yeah. How did you overcome what many people tell me is the problem with the higher power, greater power, or God? How did you move past that?
That actually, I think it came with first finding some kind of inner peace for myself, and that came with just I would take time to just sit by myself and breathe.
Mhm. So,
You
so
know,
is it safe to say that it's possible? You sound like you're saying it's possible to. You don't have to confront this notion that maybe this is about God.
right?
You can move beyond that and start to work on yourself without either denying the existence of God or embracing the notion of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my belief
yeah.
system.
I agree with you because you could put any other euphemism in there for God, a greater power, and everything. It still stops some people in their tracks,
Yeah,
and it's instructive to point out in situations like yours and many others that you can move past that and still get great value out of the 12 steps. So, okay, it's remarkable given how difficult a path you were on, the number of substances you were addicted to, the near death experiences, that one trip, extended though it may have been, into a rehab facility, and then the care of these Amish people, you still managed to do something some people take a very long time to get to where you got in about a year. What happens to you now? Okay, you're in early recovery, and you gotta look at the rest of your life. When does it occur to you that there's a career for you in helping others?
um, I think it was more. I had the best sponsor. She like literally she only passed away. So I utilized a temporary sponsor while I was away. And then I got home and I looked around and I looked around and I found my sponsor. And she was my sponsor for 26 years. And she was a blessing. She just passed away not too long ago. Um, but she was a blessing. And she, there, you could throw anything at this woman and she would just smile,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so for her, like she used to say to me, you could do anything you want to do. She said, but let me just tell you, you're really good with people. And so, like when I first started school, when I first started college, I had no idea what I was going to do. I used to say I had no idea what I want to be when I grow up.
Right.
There I
Yeah.
am. There
Yeah.
I am, a full-blown adult. You know what I mean? I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. So I started taking the core classes in college, and I thought I'm gonna be. This is great. I'm gonna be a probation officer. That's what I'm gonna be. So
Really?
I started in criminal justice,
Uh-huh.
and so just as I was about to finish, um, I had gotten hired uh, at this one place where I was just like a tech at a halfway house, you know, where people are coming out of prison,
Mhm.
and tough job. It was real tough. It was in heart of the city, third shift. And then I got hired at a wonderful place. It was a program it was an alternative to prison program, so that if people messed up on probation, they had an option to either go to this program or they could max out on their jail sentence. So this is where I went. So while I'm working there, um, the director says to me, "You're in the wrong field." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You're in the wrong field." He said, "You really, really, really need to be a therapist." He said, "You're wonderful." He said, "You need to go talk to your academic advisor tomorrow." And
Really?
I looked up to him. I thought he was wonderful. And so I did. I went and talked to my academic advisor and told her I wanted to switch my major. I wanted to go into clinical psychology, and it just went from there. And the minute I did that, the program I was working for was all men at the time, but they had a whole unit that was closed off, and they were doing nothing with it. And I said to him, we should do something with this. And he said to me, he said, "Well, what do you think we should do?" And I said, there's no programs for women who violate their probation. And he said to me, "Well, I'll tell you what, you go come up with a curriculum and a program and bring it back." So I spent 3 months doing this, and I brought it back, and 3 weeks later they approved it and they opened up a program for women.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you're slowly moving through your educational process
Yep.
to become accredited as a
Yep.
therapist. And then
Yeah,
10 years ago, you wound up at Retreat Behavioral Health.
I did. Yeah. I was the supervisor in mental health right before I came here, and I was working really long hours, and even on vacations, I was taking my laptop with me, another cell phone with me, a pager with me, and I know somebody who worked here, and they texted me and they said, "Hey, you should check this place out." So I came up here, and I was working as a clinical specialist on weekends. And my family was like, "You come home from that place up there and you're so happy, and then you go back to your other job and you're kind of miserable."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so then they had a full-time opening here,
So
and
there,
I talked to my family, and they were like,
go for it.
and the rest is history. I've been here ever since, and I love every day that I'm here.
Yeah, 11 years. Well, you're working with great people because they
Yeah,
care
I
about
am.
what they're doing. So it was clear, not from hearing your story, and certainly, but from the people you came in contact with while you made your way to your current position, that they recognized that you were, if not drawn to people in crisis, on some level, it seems like you were.
Yeah.
You were uniquely situated to be able to get there at a critical time. What sort of people do you see now? I mean, do you see you're still seeing only women in your
No, I work with women, men, trauma, vets. Um, I work with a pretty diverse population right now.
in and so for people who might not know how this works, on the these are inpatient uh,
Yes,
clients for you. Uh, are these group sessions that you conduct? Are they one-on-one sessions? What's
both,
going on?
both.
Both? Yeah.
Yes.
What's the benefit of a group therapeutic session as opposed to one-on-one?
I think the benefit of that is that they learn how to trust each other. They also learn how to build a support, because most of the time they come in here, they don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that small group setting.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning we have it for 2 hours. And so they're building that rapport with one another, and they learn to accept feedback, give feedback, reach out if they need it. And what they're doing and it's great to see because I get to watch them grow every day. And so as I'm watching them come in here isolated and alone, every day I watch them grow a little bit more to where they're actually joking with each other, and then they're serious with each other too at times, and they're also sharing their most vulnerable moments with each other.
Yeah. That process is amazing to watch. So many people in that situation. I've done, if you can imagine, hundreds of interviews now. There's a common theme that runs through these things. First and thinking foremost is that people are surprised that there are others who know what they're going through. Why is it surprising? I mean, when you were getting high, you were getting high with other people who were getting high. You knew
Yeah,
people, and you knew people that were perhaps as messed up on drugs and alcohol as you were, and yet there's an isolation
yeah,
that stops you from believing others are doing this. So now you're in a group session where you see, oh, I'm not the only one with this problem.
right. I know, and it just baffles you to think like when you're out there doing what you're doing, and you're like, there's nobody else that has this problem, but there are because you sat with them while you were doing what you were doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Substance abuse works on so many insidious levels, and that you mentioned it tells you you're not sick, constantly
Yeah.
tells you you're not sick, um, and it also tells you you're the only person that understands what's going on. The rest of
Hmm.
these people are crazy. Did you see? I've heard therapists tell me this before that they begin to see in their clients and their patients the shift, the transfer from being thought of as just a list of their symptoms. You're an addict, you do this, to becoming people with a problem.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that was like when you see somebody or when it happened to you where you go, oh, I'm sick. I'm not just a substance abuser. I'm a person. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah. So I sometimes I have to say I have to kind of direct them to that because they'll come in. You know, I know like for me, to me I was just a junkie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I watch people come in with that same mindset, and so like I have to say that we're allowing that to define us as a human being, and it's really not that. You know, it's part of like what's wrong with us, but it's not who we are.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and so when you actually see them actually accept that, you can see a whole difference because what happens now is now they bounce into your office and they're ready. They're ready to take it
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you define yourself by your worst traits, then there's not much incentive to do anything better. But if you define
Absolutely.
yourself by being a whole human being, you just have to work through the problems. Does that process hold true for people who have mental health disorders without substance abuse issues? Is that the same
Hmm.
phenomenon? Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's very important to acknowledge that. And finally, with regard to your career, you post pretty actively to Facebook. I've read your stuff recently. It's terrific stuff. I mean, you do your garden variety Facebook
Yeah.
posts, but a lot of it has to do with what you do. You have a very long post here that I guess is a couple of days old now, where you did something I haven't seen a therapist do very frequently, where you talk about or you post about the difficulties associated with the people in your life having to deal with you now as a therapist, a healer. Talk a little bit about how families can deal, because both things are very similar, right? They had difficulty dealing with you when you're using, and now you're helping people, but there are also difficulties.
Yeah. Sometimes and I post that because sometimes I think they forget like you come home and you're tired, and it's not that you're you know um, sometimes we're hard to deal with, and I get that, you know, but I think sometimes they forget that okay, so we didn't do the dishes tonight or we didn't do this, but it's because we don't work just like I know our hours might seem like they're 8 to 4:30, but the reality is they're not. It's like a 24/7,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Because and I can't speak for everybody, but I speak for myself, and I know a lot of my colleagues as well here on the hill.
Yep.
you know, when we leave here, we're not leaving everybody behind. We're like, you know, because we know that there's a lot of people that are struggling, and then we're like, well, okay, did that happen? Are they okay? Is this going on?
Yeah.
Was this taken care of? And so, like, we take that with.
I noticed in another one of your posts, you remind people that you would rather hear from them if they're in crisis at 4 o'clock in the morning. So don't worry about what time it is, which is very interesting. Just this last point on your job, your career, your work, and how you sustain. You worry about burnout. I mean, you are carrying a lot of stuff that other people need to present to you. It's not great. A lot of it's troubling. What do you? How do you keep from burning out on all that?
So, I, first of all, I have the most wonderful daughter on the planet. I have some great grandchildren. My grandchildren are amazing. And I spend time with them every single day. Every single day. And they're like the light of my life. So I always find time to spend with them, and they keep me grounded. I have a best friend of, we've been friends for 46 years. We've been friends for 46 years. And so, like, we get together twice a week, faithfully, no matter what, you know? And like, I practice mindfulness. I practice meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to eat as healthy as possible, you know. But I also, the old saying is every therapist has a therapist.
So there are people you can talk to as well.
Absolutely.
And so, what's your sobriety anniversary date? When is that?
January 10th.
And January 10th. It's my birthday.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Hey.
Yeah, right. And how long will it be altogether now? This January?
Yes.
Pardon me?
30 years.
30 years sober. Remarkable. It's you got to remind people. Everybody knows the horrors of these conditions, and they are horrible.
Yeah.
But millions of people get sober. Millions.
Yes.
Can we finally do this because as we approach the holiday season? Nothing sets my teeth on edge quicker than the commercial that has that song in it. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Makes me crazy because, as we know, it may be the most wonderful time of the year, but it's also fraught with all kinds of stresses. In normal circumstances, it's tough getting together, buying gifts, all that pressure and all that stuff. We talk about this every year at this time of the year, home for the holidays, for people in early recovery or people or even in active use. Can you give us a couple of coping skills to get through Thanksgiving and the holidays?
So, you know, early recovery, first of all, I don't think that everybody needs to have alcohol at a holiday dinner, but that's just me. You know, go slow. You don't have to stay there for 7 hours, go have your dinner, give everybody their hugs, make your exit, go home and watch a movie, cuddle up on the couch.
You hit the one that always comes up, and that is get ready to go, have a good time, have an escape plan.
Yes.
Have an escape plan.
Have an escape plan.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. It's just great. It's just great advice to get through. It's a difficult time of the year.
It is.
Wanda Barnett, our guest, she's primary addiction therapist at Retreat Behavioral Health. Her road was not an easy one. She's now 30 years sober, as you just heard, on January 10th. And we congratulate her. Thanks for your time, Wanda. It's been a while since we spoke, so it's good to reconnect.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care. And you all as well. We'll see you next time on The Corner. Don't forget to like us, subscribe to us. You'll find us wherever you find podcasts lying around in the street. And we hope you like what you hear. The Behavioral Corner. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Retreat Behavioral Health has proudly been serving the community for over 10 years. Here at Retreat, we believe in the power of connection and quality care. We offer comprehensive, holistic, and compassionate treatment from industry-leading experts. Call 855-802-6600 or visit us at www.retreatbehavioralhealth.com to begin your journey today.
that's it for now. And make us a habit, hanging out at the Behavioral Corner. And when we're not hanging, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Behavioral Corner.